In a small town nearly forgotten by time, the Ortega family home stood at the end of a dusty road. The paint was peeling, the windows cracked, and the front yard overgrown with weeds no one had the energy to trim. But to Mateo and Luis, it was everything. Their father, Ernesto Ortega, sat in a rickety wooden chair on the porch, staring blankly into the road. A letter from the bank lay on the table. In 2 weeks, the house would be taken. $60,000 in debt, or they would lose the only place they ever called home. "He won't survive if we lose this house, Teo," said Luis quietly. His younger brother's eyes were red from lack of sleep. Mateo nodded, looking at their aging father who had withered in just a few months. "I know." There were no options. No steady jobs. No relatives to ask for help. The only thing they had was love and desperation. Mateo pulled out an old map and a worn notebook from a desk drawer. Years ago, he had worked at a security company, a brief job, but long enough to hear things he shouldn't have. There's a money transport route used by the casino, quiet back roads, no surveillance. Just one armored van. 2 guards, Mateo said, pointing at the map. Luis looked at him, horrified but curious. "You want to rob them?" "Not because I want to, but because we have no choice." They started planning. They stole an old car from an abandoned lot, bought gloves and masks, studied police patrol routes. Mateo emphasized one rule over and over. "We take the money, we disappear. No violence. No blood." Luis nodded. But Mateo saw something trembling behind his eyes. Fear, or something deeper. That night, the fog rolled in thick and heavy. The road was silent, broken only by the chirping of insects and their cautious footsteps. The armored van appeared on schedule, its headlights cutting through the mist. Luis parked the stolen car across the road, blocking the path. Mateo approached calmly, carrying a homemade stun device. Everything was going as planned. Until it wasn't. The driver stepped out, faster than expected, and reached for his firearm. Bang! 1 shot. 1 life gone. Luis stood frozen, the shotgun still smoking in his hands. The guard lay bleeding on the asphalt. Mateo screamed, not in fear of getting caught, but because they had just crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. They took the money, $100,000, and vanished into the woods. In an old hunting cabin left by their late uncle, the brothers hid. The news of the robbery spread fast. A guard was dead. The town was in shock. The police launched a massive manhunt. Luis couldn't stop shaking. He didn't eat, didn't sleep. Mateo was silent, focused only on survival. On the 4th night, Mateo washed a portion of the money, packed it in an envelope, and mailed it anonymously to the bank using fake documents. 3 days later, the debt was cleared. The house was safe. Ernesto received the news with tears in his eyes, never knowing who had saved him, never imagining the cost. A gas station camera had caught a partial license plate. A hunter noticed smoke rising from an area no one visited. Police arrived before sunrise. Luis was already sitting on the floor, hugging his knees. Mateo opened the door and raised his hands. They didn't resist. In the interrogation room, Luis cried. In court, he confessed everything. The robbery, the shooting, the reason, their father. The prosecutor demanded life in prison. The judge, cold and firm, sentenced them to 25 years each. A month after the trial, Ernesto received a letter with no return address. We sinned, Father. But we did it because we couldn't watch you lose everything. Please don't hate us. We only wanted you to live in peace. The house is yours now. Please live well. Don't remember us as criminals, but as sons who lost their way because they loved too deeply. Ernesto read the letter again and again, then placed it next to his late wife's photo on a small altar. His tears fell, not from grief, but from love paid in blood. The end.